Hey guys, welcome back to the Beginner Guitar Lesson Series. In this video we are going to be working on an alternating bass strum pattern. The chords that we're going to use are E major, string 6 open, string 5 fret 2, string 4 fret 2, string 3 fret 1, string 2 open, string 1 open. E major, A major, string 5 open, string 4 fret 2, string 3 fret 2, string 2 fret 2, string 1 open, A major, and there are some alternate fingerings for that one in case you want to do something else. No worries, that's just what I prefer there, fingers 2, 3, and 4. And then B7, string 5 fret 2, string 4 fret 1, string 3 fret 2, string 2 open, string 1 fret 2. B7. Okay, so our rhythm is not going to use anything new compared to what we've done in past videos, just quarter notes and eighth notes. So the strum pattern, I'll use my E chord for the example here, is going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and quarter, eighth, eighth, quarter, eighth, eighth, or down, down, up, down, down, up. Okay, now what we're going to change is on beats 1 and 3 where we have a quarter note, we're going to play a single bass note instead of strumming the chord. Okay, so for our E chord, our first bass note is going to be string 6 open, and then we strum down, up. And we're going to avoid hitting the bass string that we pluck and just strum the rest of the chord, okay? And you don't have to think about that so specifically, like I have to hit the other 5 strings. It's just getting part of the chord to sound, so we're kind of breaking the chord apart, so to speak. Alright, so that bass note's ringing out, and then I go on strike the rest of the chord. Okay, our second bass note on the E chord is going to be the note that we're already holding on string 5 fret 2, which is B. So we're going to play string 6 open E, strum the chord down, up, and then B there. You don't have to lift your finger, I'm just showing you what I'm playing. String 5 fret 2, B, and down, up. So string 6, down, up, string 5, down, up, string 6, down, up, string 5, down, up. So it'll make sense to start with just one bass note instead of the alternating bass notes to get familiar with what's going on the right hand. But we'll do that later on. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do with each chord in terms of the alternating bass notes. Then we'll start to put them together and simplify it with just one bass note, throw the second bass note back in once we're feeling comfortable. So again, on the E, that was string 6 open, strum down, up, and then string 5 fret 2, strum down, up. Okay? On our A chord, it's going to be string 5 open, strum down, up, and then string 6 open. String 5 open, string 6 open. And then on the B7 chord, it's a little different because we're going to have to move this middle finger to get our second bass note. So it's going to be string 5 fret 2, strum down, up, and then we're going to move this finger to string 6 fret 2, and we're going to leave it there until we have to come back to that next bass note. So string 5 fret 2, strum down, up, string 6 fret 2, string 5 fret 2, okay? Now let's talk about the right hand. The most common analogy used for the right hand when doing the alternating bass strum pattern is to think about shaking water off of your hand. And what that's implying is you just have to have a loose wrist. And a lot of the movement is going to come from the wrist. So, you know, the wrist and the fingers, that's where we get kind of our finesse, and we move the pick with a little bit more detail. And then the elbow, the forearm is going to give us a lot of power to generate a lot of that movement. But think about that idea of, shaking water off of your hand. That's how loose that wrist really needs to be strumming. So if you're gripping that pick too tight and it's not letting that wrist relax because you're just tensing up all your muscles, then that is obviously a sign that we need to relax the forearm, relax the wrist, relax the fingers, whatever it is, trying to get into that optimal state so we can execute the alternating bass pattern. So another thing I'll say about that is it's ideal to have your hand set up close to the bass notes and then strum with a lot of the wrist. That way, when you come back to find your next bass note, your hand will naturally return to that general area instead of doing this, where I run the risk of being wildly inaccurate. Like I really can't tell where I'm going right now. It just feels very unnatural, right? But if I'm letting my fingers hang there, and then from the bass note, I'm just going to use a lot of my wrist, and then when my wrist comes back up, I'm naturally landing in that area of the bass strings to find that bass note. And so it'll be a lot easier to be accurate with that. So relaxing and then setting up the pick around the bass strings so we can just kind of flick that wrist down to strum and then return and be more accurate or precise with finding our bass notes. Okay, so let's just do the E chord by itself, then we'll do the A chord by itself, B7 chord by itself, start to put these guys together. So E chord, string 6, down, up, string 5, down, up, 6, down, up, 5, down, up. I'm just going to speed that up a little bit. And another thing is that the pick pressure or the amount of force that we strike that bass note with doesn't have to be a lot. You don't want to hammer that, right? Or pick and pull away from the guitar. We've got to keep everything close and on that plane of the strings. As long as we're getting to ring out, that's sufficient. Just to try and keep that hand relaxed, right? Okay, another little note I'll make. I don't want you guys to get too concerned about this, but I've got my thumb up here, and I can use that thumb to mute that 6th string when I'm going to the 5th string bass note. So it's a little safety net there that you can try to make use of once you get comfortable with it, but initially I'd say leave it out, and then because it might mess up your hand position or make it too tight. Might not feel like the most natural thing. But it is a nice thing to be able to do, which helps the left and right hands communicate with one another. Okay, our A major chord, string 5 open, strum, and string 6 open. And here I'm using that thumb thing again. You can see on my left hand. So strumming with a lot of wrists, so I can make it easier to find those bass notes. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Okay, and then the B7, moving that middle finger, right? String 5 fret 2, string 6 fret 2. All right, now let's put that all together. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 4 bars of the E major chord, or 4 times through the alternating bass pattern, if you want to think about it that way. So 4 bars of E major, and then 4 bars of A major, and then 4 bars of E major again, and 4 bars of B7. Okay, but initially we're only going to use the first bass note that we discussed for each chord. So for strings, or for the E major chord, that's going to be string 6. For the A major chord, that's going to be string 5 open, and for the B7, string 5 fret 2. So we're only going to use that bass note initially. Then I'll start speeding it up a little bit, and then we'll slow it back down, add the 2 bass notes, and start speeding that up. All right, here we go. So I'll count over initially, just so you know when you guys know when the chord changes are coming. Okay. So here we go. Just the single bass note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Going to an A and back to E. B7. Back to E, and I'm going to start speeding it up a little bit here. Go to A. B. B7. And E a little bit faster. A. And E. B7. All right, so you can work that with a metronome for sure. That'll be the best way to track your progress and speeds that you're working at, so you don't go too fast too soon. But just to give ourselves that challenge of speeding up, and then you can go back in your own practice time and track that more specifically. We went from very slow to a decent speed really quick, and we don't want to rush through it. But in any case, you guys know how to work on that. All right, now we're going to go ahead and add that second bass note in for each chord. We're going to slow it back down. Same progression, 4 bars for E, 4 bars for A, 4 bars for E, 4 bars for B7. And then we'll do the same process, speed it up little by little, okay? So E major, string 6, and 5, and 6, and 5. A major, string 5 and 6, 5, back to E major, 6, string 5, B7, string 5 fret 2, and then string 6 fret 2. Major a little bit faster, and A, and E, and B7. So like I said a second ago, work that with a metronome. Think about the little details, you know, understand what you need to do with the right hand, check things with the pick, little details there. That's going to continue to evolve as you learn and play more. And if you're having trouble with the chord transitions, I'll just touch on that real quick. So E major to the fingering I use for A major is very close. These fingers are pretty much already where they need to be. I'm just going to drop one string and throw that pinky on. So they're very close, those shapes, right? If I keep my hand nice and compact, E major, A major, E major, A major, E major, A major. And I want to make these transitions feel that small, right? If they feel small, they're going to feel easy. If we're taking our hands off and our fingers are going a little crazy flying off of the guitar neck, that's when you start to run into a lot of trouble. That one's a little easier to manage. The E to B7 tends to give folks some trouble, so I'll give you a little tip here. These three fingers are basically already where they need to be. All you need to do is exchange fingers 1 and 3. So this is on string 3, fret 1. I'm just going to bounce it up to string 4, fret 1. This is on string 4, fret 2. I'm just going to bounce it over to string 3, fret 2. So it's just that little movement right there. All right, that's what you need. The middle finger's already in position for where it needs to be for the B7 chord and for the E major chord for that matter. So throw the pinky down for the B7 chord after you make that switch. The problem that people run into is they're putting the pinky on or thinking about the pinky first because they're not used to it and it's uncomfortable. So they'll tend to do this and then try and get these fingers to cooperate, and it just doesn't work that way. You're already so close here, so why not take advantage of that? Boom, and then throw the pinky on. You'll get it there, even if it's a little late, no big deal, right? You don't want it to mess up everything else that you've already got set up, right? So it'll start to cooperate with you the more you use it, but like I said, if you get those strong fingers to initiate the movement, that pinky's pretty much right there, right? It's sitting right on top of that first string. I think that's it, guys. So take your time with increasing the tempo. Really concentrate on the right hand, shaking off the water, strumming with the wrist, not moving your arm too much. Of course, you can do that with open strings. You don't have to have the chords there. That's just to create a little bit of music, right? A little chord progression. But the most important thing is that you understand the mechanics initially. That will make it easier to execute once you throw that left hand in the mix. Thanks a lot, guys. See you in the next video.